There's a great and a bloody fight round this whole world tonight. In the battle of bombs and shrapnel rain, Hitler told the world around he would tear our union down, but our union's gonna break them.
Greetings and welcome in a tent with a Frenchman. This is not my tent, but it is still the Frenchman. I have now finished the Via Adriatica, which is a through hike of 1,100 kilometers through the mountains of Croatia. And because not so many people have done it, I wanted to do like a review of my gear, what worked, what didn't, just to help the future hiker to decide as well what they need. Because people tend to over-equip themselves, especially in Europe and in Croatia. So yeah, what can you expect and how can you survive the Via Adriatica and finish it? You have to note that I'm not a real hiker per se, so it was my real big hike. Before that I just did the West Highland Way in Scotland with very bad gear, and this was the first attempt to something real. So everything is brand new, almost everything is brand new, and I did it in the summer, so the heat was terrible. Didn't have that much rain, maybe 2 days, so take that in consideration as well, depending on what time you decide to do it. I did it from July to mid-September. I took my sweet time. Basically, gear-wise, I'm wearing what I was wearing. So this is a Columbia shirt. It is perfect. I used it every day. I did almost never washed it. It's extremely light. It's extremely cool. It holds perfectly. The vegetation destroyed it a little bit, but compared to what it did to my arms, I was always bloody. This is absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend. I had another pair of trousers, the Fjallraven Absiko. Don't recommend. They got destroyed in the crotch area and exposed myself to gusty winds every time I was sitting down. And yes, exposed my balls. But I did change them when I arrived in Split with those Trangoworld pants that held absolutely perfectly, except from here and there some chafing. But that's, I mean, I'm not indecent anymore. And finally, the boots. I started with those big boys. It's lowa jungle boots, but they gave me too many blisters. It was good on rocky terrain, but for an everyday walk, it's too much. It's overkill. So I had to change when I arrived in a city, and I literally bought the only pair of shoes that could go outside. Those are the terrex by Adidas. They are trail runners. I was dead against trail runners. I didn't want trail runners, and the moment I put them on, I was sold. And then I did all the technical terrains. So it's a little bit difficult on hard rocky terrain because you can really feel on the sole all the rocks, especially on Biokovo, on Velebit. A lot of technical places on the Via Adriatica. So it gets a little bit of used to, but they never failed me. Now they're completely destroyed. I think like one pair is for the hike, and then after that you can toss them in the bin. Next on is my Sunski UV shades. They're lifetime warranty. They perform really well. I had them always in my pocket, and the sun in Croatia is a killer. You really want some sun protection, so that was really nice. My hat was a Goruck hat, not this one. My real hat actually got blown away by a gust of wind on the last day. I lost it. It was an old model, old cordura. This is another one. And in the middle of my trail I had to change because I left it in a taxi and ended up with tacky, extremely tacky hat that I had for the entire trail after, with Paris, France on it. This is just to remind people that I'm French because nobody believed me. They thought I was some kind of Arabic figure. Next up, all my trekking poles. Trekking poles, I was not a believer of trekking poles. I hiked all my life without them and didn't understand why would people take them. I felt like a grandpa. After half an hour of trying them, I could not hike without them anymore. They are lifesavers. They allow you to check on difficult terrain, everything that is going in front of you. You're going faster, it saves your knees, and on top of that, they are also extremely efficient against vegetation. Some parts of the Via Adriatica are completely overgrown as of 2020, and these allow to just bushwhack through it or just create a protection in front of you. Also against spider webs, because spiders love to make webs in the middle of the terrain. And like hiking with just one in front, just take care of that. In the end, you just don't care. You just put your face directly in everything that finds your way. And on top of that, it's part of my tent setup. My tent uses poles as a frame. So those poles are, yeah, I will never hike without them. So the pack itself, the pack is a pack by Ukrainian brand called Liteway. It's an Elementum DCF pack, so it's made out of Dyneema. Extremely good pack, very cheap, 35 liters and 400 grams, so really, really light. It did suffer, because all light packs will suffer more wear and tear, so I have some problems here and there, but overall it allowed me to walk every day with all my gear and everything, and it went really fine. 35 liters was plenty. I did do a little bit too much with some food, and I could have something lighter, but overall very happy about it. Behind I have also the ass pad that was serving as a backrest. I almost never used it to sit on it, but I mean, as a backrest it's really fantastic. Water system. I had plastic bottles that you find in any shop. I had 1.5 liters on one side, 1.5 liters on the other side, so 3 liters plus 50 centiliters here. 3.5 liters was plenty. Remind that it was the summer, completely dry summer, so some water sources were out. To be honest, water is a bit of an issue on the Via Adriatica. You need to be careful about your water consumption. So when I knew that I didn't have a water source, or the water source was just indicated but not sure it was dry or not the next day, usually at camp I was using food that didn't require water, so like sausage, stuff like that. So I did lack of water for comfort, so dry food, cleaning and stuff like that, but I never lacked of water to survive. Even the infamous Biokovo is the mountains that everybody will tell you is going to kill you. Biokovo is very dry and it's mainly rocks and doesn't have a lot of water, but in the end 3.5 liters was plenty to go across Biokovo. Mind that I have a good filtration system that you will see in a moment. But yeah, no, really happy with the setup. Next up, I had also this. All Croatians know what this is. When you see a little bottle with clear liquid, it's a rakia. Rakia is the local alcohol. It's around 40% alcohol. This is Slavonian rakia that was a gift on my way back. I was carrying rakia every day. It was a little bit cultural. It was also because when you arrive at night in camp, alone in the woods, it's nice having a little sip right before. Yeah, rakia was fun. Definitely you don't need it. You absolutely don't need alcohol. But in Croatia, it's part of the culture. Every hiker has rakia with them. When you are in a place that sets you for the night, like a mountain hut, stuff like that, with your coffee, they will bring you in the morning a glass of rakia, because you need to have rakia in the morning before you hike. You don't, but it's cultural. I mean, I indulged in this and it was fun. So on top of there, I always had, that I don't have here, my flip-flops stored in here and secured. These are the Teva Mush II. They held up really well. They were always exposed to the elements. They were a little bit scratched here and there because of vegetation, but it's really nice to have very light camp shoes when you arrive. Here, front pocket. My waterproof jacket, really good, a Vaude jacket, 170 grams. It's nothing. It's absolutely fantastic. Didn't use it a lot for water because I had like 2 or 3 days of rain. It held up, but I used it mainly for the wind, and as wind protection it was really nice. But I'm pretty sure it's good against water as well. Something I almost never use. These are my waterproof pants by Arc'teryx, Gore-Tex, extremely expensive, and I use them maybe twice. There was no need for most of the time. They performed flawlessly, but then again, didn't need them because not that much water. So yeah, not that fun. This is a simple trowel. This is used to dig cat holes whenever you need to go pooping. Works really well. It's Vario titanium, and the design is a little bit aggressive, but it worked really well on many terrain, even on rocks and everything. So I'm really happy to have it, and used it also with those dents to clean a little bit the ground when I was putting my tent up. Very useful. Next up is a little bag of everything. This is Leki tape. I was using it a lot on my blisters, but actually I have an allergic reaction to it and it created more blisters, and I discovered that a little bit too late. And finally some stuff to repair my air mattress and some Compete. Almost didn't use it. It was pretty nice. This goes really well with my trowel. This is my toilet system. Basically inside you have a little bit of organic soap and Cooler Clean. Cooler Clean is my take on toilet paper. Cooler Clean is actually a bidet, a portable bidet that you put directly on your water bottle and transform your water bottle into a bidet. It is weird for someone who never used a bidet in their life. The first time when you're in the woods and you have to squat and touch yourself to clean yourself with spritting water. It's weird, but in the end it's actually very valuable because you are cleaning your anus real good. Not like TP, and with sweat and TP there is something lingering and you don't want that because it's chafing and it smells terrible after a few days, and it's basically disgusting. At first it's weird, but then you really understand, and you leave absolutely no trace in nature because this is biodegradable, and you put everything in a hole, and then you put the hole back. I really enjoy this. I mean, it's really nice. It's still a bit weird, and the problem is it's using water, and sometimes water is a problem. And at first I was using way too much water because I was afraid, but you get more water efficient. This costs nothing. It wastes nothing and really changes everything. You never run out of toilet paper ever again, and you don't make a mess. Next up is some olive oil and Cantarian that have been given to me. It's homemade. This is a local recipe that Croatians use to clean pretty much anything. It was pretty good on wounds. This is rakia. This was a gift to me by some local hikers. It's a rakia to go. You undo it, and inside you have alcohol, because you know, in case you run out. Bit of magnesium, taking every day just to help. Gear wise, this is my water filter. It's the Soyo Mini, very useful. Many sources of water are a little bit dubious on the Via Adriatica, and you're happy to be able to drink all of them, really all of them. There is even a pond that is used by the horses to do whatever on top of Biokovo. The water tastes horrible, terrible, but once filtrated, it tastes, well, still horrible, but it's drinkable. It's drinkable, and I tried it like on this horrible water tasting exactly like manure, and I could survive, which is nice. The flow rate is a little bit bad, but apart from that it's really good. Just find that some bottles in Croatia don't have the same width, so you have to adapt, and always have one water, at least one bottle that can screw it on top. This is really nice. Still on the outside of the bag we have two little pockets, a little bit of sunscreen, my Opinel, don't need more, it's a fantastic knife, a little Bic lighter, always useful, and this lamp. It's a Petzl Reactik, I think. Worked flawlessly. You can recharge it. Yeah, it's a very simple light but very efficient. And finally my trusted, this is probably the only thing I had before going, spork in titanium. Next up, in here, I have a buff in merino wool. Almost never used it, but still would take it again because it serves its purpose. I mean, if it gets cold, you're really happy to have one more thing to put around you. A lot of people in Croatia hike with Via Adriatica buffs, lucky them, never had one, and they put it on their head. I preferred to have a hat. My Garmin GPS, this is the most useless part of my equipment. I never opened it once, and it's quite heavy. You just don't need it. You just don't need it. The trail is really badly indicated, to be honest, in some parts. Still, with my phone and ViewRanger and Gaia, plus the GPS track, I was able to go everywhere. All the time. These were mostly like if I run out of batteries. I never ran out of battery. And to be honest, this is impossible to use. It's really badly made. The user interface is terrible. It's slow as hell. The screen is really bad. I just don't understand it. I just don't understand the concept of it, but I kept it. It's same, a compass. Just in case. It's rare that I have just in case stuff, but I never really used it, but well, I had it. You don't need it. You don't need it. Just have a phone with a decent battery and some power source and you're good. And same, Headnet, never used it, just in case mosquitoes are a little bit annoying. Let's dive in. This is my tent. The best, in my opinion, piece of gear in my equipment. This is the Zpacks Duplex 2% tent for 700 grams. It's absolutely fantastic. I spent wonderful nights in them. I even slept with the Buddha, and it held really well. The Buddha is the very strong wind you will have on the coast. It's very strong, really. You will see. I had it in camo. It's very good to put pretty much anywhere. It blends in really easily, so when you wild camp, because technically speaking it's still illegal to camp anywhere in Croatia, but it's impossible to this hike without camping. But this one really works a treat. It is extremely expensive. It's too much. It's really too much expensive, but I mean, if you can afford it, you will live in there, so it's perfect. Also bought a set of those hiking stakes. It's pure titanium. It's pretty much a titanium nail. I bashed them directly into rocks and they didn't fail. They were making sparkles because I was bashing them with hammer. Those ones are absolutely perfect. They never bent. Next up is this actually is my food bag. It is empty now. It is a lock sack, odor resistant to avoid animals. I was using way too much food. I was storing days of food. To be honest, you don't need that much. Really don't. So don't worry, you'll have food. Maximum is on the Velebit when you have 6 days consecutively without any place for food. Just think about bringing cash and a little bit of food. This was also a course of a subject of many jokes for the Croatians. This is my bear bag. A bear bag is basically the bag that everybody uses in the US to put the food, like store it on the tree and avoid the bears to take it. The bears in Croatia, because there are plenty of bears, are terrified of you to the point where they will never approach you even if you have like steak on you. Nobody in Croatia ever heard of that. Nobody take their food out of their tent. Everybody sleeps with that. So I never used it. I mean, I used it just, you know, for the peace of mind, but in the end of my trail, I didn't care at all. So yeah, it's very expensive, useless, not that heavy. Next up is my cooking system. Cooking system is really easy. I have this adapter for piercing canisters. You don't need it. I was carrying it for nothing. Then I have this combo made by, can't remember whom, you'll see in the description. It is basically a pot and a little lid slash frying pan, very useful for eggs. Inside I have my trusted Aeropress Go. It's the latest Aeropress they did, like smaller. This thing was wonderful because I could make coffee for pretty much anywhere, as long as I had water and coffee. I was buying like cheap coffee, but even with cheap coffee I was doing very decent coffee. Really loved it, with a metal filter in it. This is my little stove. It's nothing, like I think it's 30 grams. It is the BTS 3000, like everybody is kind of like advising this one. Strongly advise this one. And inside a little cup. This little cup is used just for my coffee. I boil the water in it. I use the inverted method on this. Put a little bit, let it bloom, put it back, and I have absolute perfect coffee in there. I really like this setup. It's very useful, and I was using that only for coffee. And a little bit of something to scratch inside, and also to help it clip tight, and everything was fitting in one thing. So very, very, very nice cooking setup. Really enjoyed it. As well, I had always with me a little canister. It was a bigger one. You need one, basically. If you know how to make a fire, and I was cooking some stuff on the fire, I had a bigger one. I think it was a 200 gram over there, and it lasted for almost all the trip. I changed it toward the end because I was afraid I would not have enough, but I had too many. So very useful as well. And finally, I have my bag of electronics. So there is one thing you don't see. It's the microphone that I was using, the Zoom H1N. Very good microphone and very lightweight. I was using that to do my podcast. Inside of this bag, that is actually a DCF bag, but I don't know why, DCF, I mean, plenty of holes, so it was not waterproof really. I have my Anker 13,000 milliampere. This is really good. It could recharge my phone 4 times. And I recharge it whenever I can. It's very efficient. It has 2 USB. It's very light. Really enjoy. Some loose batteries for the GPS that I would never use. Same by Anker. This was actually pretty nice. It is a charging station. It's a little bit heavy, but it has 2 USB plugs, which is nice when you have to recharge both your phone and the battery. It's really useful. Next up is this charging station for the batteries for the GPS. So bulk that I really, really didn't need. That's too much. Some cheap earphone, and inside also my book. This is a Kindle Voyage. Very useful when you are a little bit bored and you want to spend some time. This is pretty much every electronic I had, so not that much. Everything else now in the bag is in one large waterproof bag, except for those cheap gloves. One large waterproof bag liner. So outside of it there is also a cheap swimming suit, because sometimes you are near the sea and you want to enjoy the sea, because the sea in Croatia is nice. And then you see all those tourists like enjoying their life in flip-flops while you're sweating in your complete gear. So inside of this I have everything that I don't want to get wet. My insulated jacket, didn't take anything else than this for warmth. It is my Arc'teryx Atom jacket, extremely lightweight and very efficient to keep you warm. I really enjoy this stuff. Then in this bag I had all the garments I needed. This is my little pillow. It's the Nemo Philo Elite. I cannot recommend this enough. I am a stomach sleeper. It's really hard to find a pillow that is an actual pillow and not just a ball you put under your head. This allows me to do real night sleeps, and I was using it every night. Absolutely perfect. This is what I was using to sleep. It is my first layer in merino. You have the bottom and the top here. Nothing to say except that it works perfectly. It keeps me warm and temperated at night. The nights were quite warm in Croatia. If it gets cold in the day, you can use that as the first layer and then add some more stuff on top of you, and you should not die. It's really, really efficient. Socks, obviously going with 2 pairs. 1 pair that I'm wearing, 1 pair that I am keeping dry. Dantef socks, you don't need more than 2 socks because, well, the Dantef are merino blend, so they don't smell bad, and they are lifetime warranty, and they have a little bear on it. I mean, how cute is it? There's a wolf as well. My beanie, same merino wool, double walls, very, very warm. I used it maybe twice, and in the morning. In the morning when it was a little bit chilly, it was nice to have, but I mean, in the summer it was really warm. And my underwear, finally, I had 2 pieces. So this is the Smart Wool, merino wool as well, Smart Wool underwear boxer brief. Very efficient. I had 2. I was wearing one until it smells too bad, and then I was switching. Or when I was like accessing water, I could hand wash one and let it dry on my bag as I was walking. Same with my socks. They did started to show some very big signs of wear, but all in all, it's crazy how well they held during the hike. Crazy. I'm really, really satisfied with those, and I would definitely go with them again. They're also preventing me from having thighs chafing, because this is horrible. Chafing on the thighs is just the worst. Finally, in the bottom, you find my bag of a little bit of everything. Again, lightweight. Some drops for my eyes, for my eye surgery. A little toothbrush. This was my only towel. It's a small towel in microfiber. I used it a few times and it was really nice. Some tenacious tape to repair pretty much everything. Some alcoholic pads, some loose pills. Like, should not be loose. A little bit of thread and needle, and toothbrush, nail clipper. I mean, some basics. Very lightweight, all of that, and pretty useful. It was pretty much the thing you want to use at night. And the 2 last main things. This is my Nemo air mattress. Really big. I had 1 puncture one night that was terrible, but all the other nights were perfect. Absolutely perfect. Sleeping on this is absolutely perfect. I really love this thing. It's my second one. My first one I had a defect, and they sent it because it's warranty for life, Nemo warranty for life. So they sent me a new one, and this one worked tremendously. Like a little bit of a hole here that I patched. Perfect nights on it, and very light, 700 grams. And finally, my quilt. So the quilt is my. I was keeping it in this very little compressing stuff. It is a Cumulus. Cumulus is a Polish brand. It's a Polish brand making their own products out of goose down from Poland. And this is the Cumulus 450. This is extremely warm, extremely soft. It feels like sleeping in a cloud. It's brilliant. Most nights were actually quite warm, so having a quilt was nice to be able to take the legs off. But all in all, it is a fantastic piece of equipment, and when the nights were really chilly, this kept me extremely warm. I had one night that was a little bit too chilly, and I could have added some layers to protect myself, but basically sleeping in my first layer and this was more than enough for the entire summer, and this is fantastic. So yeah, anyway, this is basically what I had for my Via Adriatica through hike. You don't need to take that much. You don't need to take that many things. This is mostly the gist of it, plus the food and the water that you didn't see. If you have any question about the equipment, don't hesitate to ask me. You can also find my Instagram to follow whatever I did. A ton of pictures, and also my podcast that I was recording every night under the tent, hence the name. And I will maybe do another video about my some tips and tricks about what to think before going on the Via Adriatica, should you do the Via Adriatica, and some reflections about it. Anyway, thank you for following. I hope it was useful, and any questions, don't hesitate.